In the unforgiving streets of Denver, shadows merged with moonlight, revealing Rosa Mendoza as a discarded wisp of humanity. At 21, she was a pitiful sight, fists trembling in the biting wind, while despair wrapped its cold grip tighter around her heart. Betrayed by the very fabric of her family, she had become a ghost, a spectre of the cherished daughter of a revered local merchant. In the cruel summer of her life, they cast her into the gutter, stricken with shame when the fleeting romance that left her with child evaporated without warning, the man disappearing like smoke dissipating in the night air. "You disgust us," her father had spat, his voice a jagged knife cutting through the cobbled streets, each word echoing with disdain and contempt. Standing before them, the weight of their scorn pressed down heavily on her shoulders, cold steel penetrating her fragile spirit. No longer the beloved daughter draped in familial pride, Rosa felt the sting of rejection slice deep into her heart. The bitter taste of betrayal lingered on her tongue, heavier than any food could fill her hollow stomach. Homeless and vulnerable, she scavenged through the back alleys and dark corners of the city, scouring for scraps of sustenance, only to be met with the grim realities of life on the streets. The pungent scent of desperation wafted through the air, mingling with the stench of refuse surrounding her, a heady mixture reminiscent of suffocating decay. Each evening, she wrapped her burgeoning shame close to her chest, finding solace only in the delicate dance of survival amid the shadows that cloaked her existence. Around her, the night thrummed with the murmurings of desperation and violence, drawing near like a hungry predator ready to strike. The laughter of revelers, carelessly floating from nearby taverns, felt like daggers lodged within her heart, taunting her with the life she once knew, now lost to the winds of disdain and abandonment. Every night, she curled in the dark corners of alleyways, feeling the weight of loneliness gnaw at her soul, making hunger feel like a mere afterthought. Tension knotted in her stomach, a constant reminder of her plight, blocking any remnants of hope that dared to linger. Each new night brought with it an overwhelming sense of vulnerability, as if the world had conspired to strip her of her dignity, leaving her bare against the cruelty of society. She honed her instincts, learned to navigate the dangers around her. Survival became an ugly ballet danced upon broken bottles and despair. Yet amid the encroaching darkness threatening to engulf her, a soft touch of warmth stirred within as footsteps drew near, a single figure emerging from the night, cloaked in shadows. Rosa's heart raced, panic coursing through her veins as she listened intently. The figure approached, revealing a mountain man, rugged and imposing, his stature carved from the wilderness itself. Every instinct warned her to retreat, to slip deeper into the darkness of her circumstances, but something in the man's slow approach held her gaze captive. "Little girl, you're not safe here," he said, his voice low and deep, resonating with a charm that felt uncharacteristic of the world she had learned to navigate. It was neither rough nor dismissive. Rather, it was as if he understood her fright and desperation, something delicately woven into the very fabric of his being. Rosa's breath caught in her throat, a tempest of fear and curiosity swirling within her. She dared to meet his eyes, which sparkled with an intensity that drew her in, an amalgamation of strength and compassion she had long forgotten. "Who are you?" she managed to croak, the words hesitating on her trembling lips, her voice strained by both trepidation and a flicker of intrigue. "Mateo." "Mateo Torres," he replied, kneeling before her, concern etched upon his weathered face like the bark of a time-worn tree. The compassion in his gaze felt foreign and distant, making her skin tingle, awakening a longing for something she once cherished: safety. You need to leave this place. It's not safe for you. A flicker of instinct surged through her, urging her to grasp the lifeline he dangled before her. Perhaps this rugged stranger could be her salvation, or perhaps another ghost lurking in the shadows. Yet, as Matteo extended his hand toward her, wrought with genuine intent, she hesitated for only a heartbeat. "Come with me," he urged softly, a melody woven with sincerity and promise, a light in the darkness offering refuge. Tentatively, she reached out and grasped his hand, the warmth of his palm igniting something within her frozen, shivering frame. Together, they stepped away from the shadows of abandonment and despair, venturing further into the embrace of the night, where the moon cast its silvery glow upon them like an ancient guardian illuminating their path. The cool air wrapped around them as they crossed beyond the city's confines, entering the refuge of the wilderness, where towering pines offered both shelter and solace. With every step, Rosa felt the icy grip of fear gradually thaw against the warmth radiating from Matteo, a promise of safety she hadn't fathomed. They arrived at a cabin nestled against a backdrop of towering trees and emerald hills, a sturdy structure that felt like a heartbeat away from any judgmental gaze. Inside, the ambience shifted. The scent of burning wood crackled in the hearth, weaving through the air, mingling with the freshness of pine like a protective embrace. For the first time, in what felt like an eternity, Rosa exhaled, her lungs bursting with gratitude for the sanctuary bestowed upon her. "This is it. You're safe here," Matteo assured, his voice soothing against the shadows that had threatened to engulf her. Standing in the dim light of the cabin, with the flickering flame casting dancing shadows on the walls, Rosa felt the barriers built from her years of shame and anguish beginning to soften. The protective walls around her heart started to crumble, allowing flickers of hope to breathe free within her soul. "You won't treat me like trash," she declared, summoning every ounce of courage she possessed, pushing aside the echoes of doubt clouding her spirit. Matteo nodded slowly, the understanding mirrored in his expression. He would not merely shelter her, he would offer her a haven where she could reclaim her dignity, her very humanity, infused with respect and kindness. In that moment, Rosa understood that he saw her not as a burden, but as a person deserving of compassion and love, a realization that sparked the first flickers of warmth deep within her heart. As she absorbed the details of the cozy cabin, sturdy walls wrapped in soft timber, a hearth alive with warmth, Rosa dared to imagine a future that was unburdened by the shackles of betrayal and shame. Each breath felt like an act of rebellion against the despair that had once threatened to suffocate her. For the first time, she envisioned her identity reformed, sculpted by the tenderness of new beginnings. "I don't want to be a burden," she whispered, forcing the words out, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. It was more than a plea. It was a proclamation that she would not simply survive. She would thrive, reclaiming not only her life, but the essence of her spirit. Matteo's eyes softened with understanding as he stepped closer, bridging the distance between them with silent acknowledgement. "You're not a burden. You are a survivor." In the glow of the hearth and the watchful gaze of the mountain, Rosa dared to embrace the fragile tendrils of trust blossoming between them, a connection forged in the shared embers of pain, survival, and the flickering hope of a new beginning. There, in the warmth of the cabin, she felt that she might just learn to breathe without fear weighing heavily upon her soul, inching away from her own darkness and into a light that promised safety and healing. Amid the sturdy confines of that mountain sanctuary, the shadows began to relent, surrendering their grip as Rosa took her first steps toward recovery. In that moment, in the heart of the wilderness, her journey was poised to shift. A slow, transformative rebirth awaited her within the mountains that had long been silent witnesses to human struggle, resilience, and ultimately, love. As the days unfurled in the embrace of the mountains, Rosa Mendoza found herself awakening to a life imbued with warmth, purpose, and the gentle promise of healing. Each dawn greeted her with a brush of sunlight, illuminating the cozy wooden cabin that had become her sanctuary and the start of her new existence. She took in the aromas of fresh earth and pine mingling with the wood smoke curling from the chimney, filling her with a sense of belonging she had thought lost forever. "Today we'll work on making your hunting skills more precise," Mateo announced one morning, grabbing his bow with a casual confidence that reassured her. He was becoming a pillar in her world, a dependable constant amidst the volatility of her former life. Rosa took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "Do you really think I can get better at this?" she asked, her eyes darting to the well-worn bow resting against the wall. Doubt still ebbed at the edges of her burgeoning confidence, but she was learning to push through. "Of course you have the spirit of a lion," he replied, his voice steady and encouraging. "Now let's get started. Remember, it's all about the technique." As they ventured outside, the brisk mountain air brushed against her skin with invigorating clarity. Mateo led her to a small clearing, the grass untouched by the recent frost. "Stand strong, Rosa. Feel the earth beneath you. Let it ground you." Each arrow she loosed found its mark, with Mateo guiding her in subtle shifts of posture and breath. With each successful shot, striking the target further and further into the woodland, a spark ignited within her, an ember of newfound strength that sparked against the backdrop of her painful past. "You're a natural," Mateo praised, a genuine grin painting his rugged features as he observed her growing prowess. "But remember, hunting isn't just about the bow. It's about observing your surroundings, staying calm and trusting your instincts." Rosa nodded, absorbing his wisdom like a sponge, yet she couldn't shake the fear that often surfaced. "And what if I miss?" "If you miss, then you simply lose the arrow and you try again. That's the beauty of it. The journey is in the trying." His words lingered in the air, a new mantra that tailored her understanding of perseverance. As the sun dipped below the mountaintops that day, casting an orange glow over the expanse, she had not only honed her skills, but also caught a glimpse of her potential. It felt like stepping onto the precipice of a new beginning with Mateo by her side, urging her to take the leap. Weeks rolled into a seamless rhythm of growth and learning, each day blending into the next like the changing seasons. Together they harvested vegetables from the garden, its once dusty soil now teeming with life, while sharing stories about their past, harvesting laughter and kinship alongside fresh produce. One evening, after surveying their day's work, Rosa leaned against the porch railing, gazing at the stars shimmering overhead like scattered diamonds against velvet. The darkness faded away, and warmth enveloped her as Mateo emerged beside her, resting his elbows on the railing. "Something on your mind, Rosa?" he asked, noticing her contemplative silence. She hesitated for a moment, recalling the fragmented memories of her previous life, the ones that whispered doubts in the shadows of her new beginning. "It's just, I'm afraid of what might happen if I ever go back. What if they find me?" Mateo's gaze hardened, but it was tempered with compassion. "If they come, they'll find a woman transformed, a survivor, not a victim. You don't have to carry their shame anymore." He paused, letting her process his words. What matters is how you choose to confront them. You have the power now. Rosa drew in a shaky breath, appreciating his steadfastness. Instead of feeling burdened by dread, she resolved to find strength. Then I'll show them. I'm not the same girl they discarded. I will never go back to that. Matteo smiled, clearly proud of her determination. That's the spirit. You can carve your own path, one that the past can't touch. As weeks melted into a tapestry of green and gold, the colors of summer intertwining with the rustic charm of their home, Rosa continued to prosper under Matteo's guidance. He became her mentor, her friend, and perhaps something more, though neither dared to cross that unspoken line. On particularly serene mornings, she would catch him stealing glances when he thought she wasn't looking, his eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and a hint of something deeper. Yet fear tangled around them both, fear of crossing that threshold of vulnerability, the fear that blossomed from their shared pasts. Rosa, do you think we could ever— Matteo began one evening, as they both sat by the fire, the crackling embers illuminating the space between them, as unspoken tension hung heavy in the air. But before he could finish his thought, the sound of hooves echoed in the distance, slicing through the quiet of the night. Both their heads turned towards the sound, instinctively alert. "What was that?" Rosa whispered, her heart racing. "Stay here," Matteo instructed, his tone shifting to one of authority. He stood, tense and watchful, moving quietly towards the door with a sense of purpose. Rosa's curiosity lit her instincts ablaze as she followed, feeling a surge of apprehension and anticipation all at once. They crept to the edge of the porch, hearts pounding, peering into the dimly lit expanse of the surrounding woods. As the figure came into view, Rosa's stomach dropped. A horseman approached, silhouetted under the moonlight, the shadow seemingly larger than life. "What do we do?" she murmured, an icy shiver coursing through her. Matteo turned to her, brows furrowed. "We wait and see." The horseman reined in his horse, dismounting with an air both authoritative and imposing. "I'm looking for a woman named Rosa Mendoza," he called into the night, his voice booming through the quiet. Panic surged within her. She exchanged a frantic glance with Matteo, whose expression had hardened into a protective stance. "Who are you?" Rosa called out, stepping closer to the edge of the porch. "An acquaintance of your family," the man replied, confusion lining his voice. "You haven't been seen in some time." "Your family is worried sick." Rosa's heart raced, emotions battling within her as she took stock of his words. "I left for a reason. You tell them I don't want to go back." There was fire in her voice, a newfound empowerment coursing through her veins, pushing her to confront her past head-on. "Listen, I'm not here to cause trouble," the stranger insisted, raising his hands in what seemed to be a gesture of peace. "I'm just here to let you know they forgive you. They want to talk." "Forgive me," Rosa scoffed, the bitterness swirling up her throat. "How can they forgive me when they cast me aside like a piece of rubbish?" Matteo stepped forward, his stance protective. "You can leave now, or you can stay and explain why you seek her out," he replied coolly. The stranger faltered, clearly acknowledging Matteo's presence and the tension in the air. "I only wanted to help," he stammered, glancing back towards the woods. Rosa watched as Matteo positioned himself slightly before her, an unyielding barrier for the man who had unknowingly awakened the ghosts of her past. It struck her then, in all their preparations and explorations, they had not prepared for this moment. The unexpected confrontation with her former life. Her pulse raced, but amid the turmoil inside, something felt undeniably liberating. "You tell them I've made my choice, and I have every intention of living with it." Her voice rang clear, each syllable slicing through the tension weaving around them. The horseman hesitated, a mixture of surprise and bewilderment coloring his features. "But no," Rosa interrupted, her voice steady as she stepped forward. "I will not compromise my newfound strength with the weight of chains they once put upon me." There was a moment, a powerful pause where all the air seemed to constrict around them, before the stranger nodded and stepped back hesitantly. "Very well," he relented, turning away. "But they'll never stop searching. You're still their blood." Matteo watched as the man mounted his horse, the tension still palpable in the crisp air. "You did well," he said softly, once the figure disappeared into the night. "Did I?" Rosa questioned, her emotions a mixture of relief and uncertainty. "What if it gets worse? What if they come for me?" Matteo stepped beside her, his presence resembling a sturdy mountain against her fears, grounding her. "You've taken a step forward, and with each step you reclaim your power. They don't define you, you do. Whatever happens, I'll stand with you." In that moment, Rosa felt the distance closing between them. The shadows of her past shrank into insignificance against the brightness of her future, emboldened by Matteo's unwavering support. What lay ahead remained uncharted, but with his hand in hers, she would embrace the challenge, forging her own path under the vast canopy of stars. As dawn broke over the rugged mountains, Rosa's heart echoed with the spirited pulse of life anew. With every breath, she soaked in the fresh, crisp air, steeping herself in the surrounding wilderness that had begun to embrace her as one of its own. The morning sun bathed the cabin in warmth, setting the rough-hewn walls aglow, reminding her of the promise of new beginnings, a promise she had fought fiercely to reclaim. "Today," Matteo announced with a certain enthusiasm, "we're venturing further into the forest. I want to show you a special spot I've found, a hidden meadow teeming with wildflowers." "Sounds perfect," Rosa replied, her excitement bubbling as she finished her breakfast, the simple meal feeling substantial as she savored every morsel. They were becoming a team, navigating this redefined life together, and the thought warmed her soul. As they set off down the familiar gravel path, Rosa noticed how the vibrant colors of the forest deepened, and the earthy scents enveloped her senses like an old friend. She was beginning to understand the intricate language of the wilderness, the gentle whispers of the leaves and the melodic songs of the birds, communicating secrets she was eager to uncover. "Do you ever miss the life you left behind?" Rosa inquired, the curiosity bubbling up as she stole glances at Matteo. "Your family, your home?" Matteo slowed his pace, thoughtful. "I do, but I've come to realize that sometimes what we leave behind opens the door for something greater. I've found solace in this life, and in you." His eyes bore into her, a warmth igniting in his gaze, the undeniable chemistry simmering just below the surface. Rosa felt her cheeks flush at his words, a mix of pride and vulnerability swirling in her chest. "I want to find that solace too." He smiled, a gentle curve of his lips that illuminated the path ahead. "Then let's create our own sanctuary here, one step at a time." As they wandered deeper into the woods, Rosa felt her fears begin to fade, replaced with curiosity and wonder. Matteo guided her through dense patches of trees that cast marbled shadows below and spoke of the hidden flora and fauna that thrived outside the boundaries of society. Finally, they stumbled into the hidden meadow, a vibrant patch of earth draped in wildflowers dancing in rhythm to the gentle breeze. A fountain of colors erupted before Rosa's eyes. Hues of purple, yellow, and deep blue mingled and swayed, painting a breathtaking scene that felt like a secret gift from the earth. "Wow," Rosa breathed out, stepping into the meadow, her fingers trailing through the blooms. "It's beautiful." Matteo joined her, the amazement in her voice wrapping around them like a warm includes. This place is what I love most about living here. It's a reminder that beauty can be found, even in the wildest places. Rosa knelt, her hands brushing against the petals, inhaling the sweet aroma saturating the air. It reminds me of the strength in vulnerability, she mused, how the blossoms burst forth, despite the conditions. Matteo nodded, his gaze steady upon her. Exactly. It's a lesson on resilience, showing us that life keeps blooming even after adversity, just like you, Rosa. She looked up, meeting his gaze, the intensity of his words both unnerving and exhilarating. You truly believe that? That I can bloom? Without a doubt. Matteo's confidence rolled through her, as if his belief in her was a key unlocking layers within. You've already begun your journey. Each morning spent here, each arrow sent toward its mark, you're transforming. A sense of warmth enveloped Rosa, knowing that the journey was far from her immediate burdens. She turned her attention back to the flowers swaying in the wind, a stirring of emotions settling deep within her. It felt so profound, this space, this connection, and the acknowledgement that she was on the path to creating the life she had yearned for. After a time of reveling in the beauty of the meadow, they set about gathering flowers, tucking them carefully into bundles. I want to make a wreath, Rosa declared, a spark of giddiness igniting their playful banter. You, a wreath? Do you know how fancy that sounds? Matteo chuckled, moving closer as he started to weave his own bundle. Don't underestimate my crafting skills, she countered, even as a laugh bubbled forth. They fell into a comfortable rhythm, sitting together amidst the flowers, sharing laughter and stories as they crafted their crowns. I have to admit, Matteo said, his voice quieter this time, I'm impressed. You've taken to this with more skill than I anticipated. Only because I have a great teacher, Rosa replied, her eyes dancing with mischief. His laughter rang out, a rich baritone that shook the very blossoms surrounding them. And you are a quick learner. As they decorated their hair, time slipped by unnoticed, sunlight waning as it began to dip below the horizon. Carefully securing the flowers, Rosa caught herself glancing at Matteo more frequently, noticing the way his hands moved, the ardent focus in his deep-set eyes. It was as if the world had faded, leaving just the two of them, forging a bond built on understanding and shared hopes. All right, Matteo said finally, breaking the serene atmosphere. Let's head back before twilight sets in. We should make use of these flowers before the evening dies down completely. Reluctantly, Rosa gathered the remaining blooms before rising to her feet, and together they set off amidst a sea of petals, laughter intertwining as they journeyed back toward the cabin. It felt as if they were navigating a dreamscape, where the trials of the past were mere shadows eclipsed by their brightening bond. When they reached the cabin, Rosa felt the evening coolness settle around them like a comforting blanket. I'll prepare dinner, she announced, her mind swirling with possibilities to use the berries they had collected earlier. Let me help, Matteo insisted, moving to join her in the kitchen, both of them sliding comfortably into the familiar rendezvous of cooking side by side. With their combined efforts, the kitchen filled with the aroma of warming spices that mingled with the sweet smell of the berries. They laughed and exchanged cheerful stories, and Rosa felt her heart swell. Each shared moment passed between them like a promise of what could be, a testament to their burgeoning connection. Dinner's ready, Matteo announced triumphantly, serving the final touches of their feast onto the wooden table, a homage to their hard work and collaboration. As they settled down to eat, Rosa couldn't help but study Matteo over the plates filled with vibrant food. The comfort they had built together wrapped around them like a warm embrace, and she realized that she was falling for him in a way she hadn't dared to articulate. There was depth to their connection, something rooted in understanding and empathy. "What do you think?" he asked, breaking into her thoughts as he took a bite of his own dish, his eyes sparkling with playfulness. "I think I still need to work on my cooking skills," she laughed, her voice light-hearted, though the warmth she felt for him reinforced her certainty. "Or perhaps I could just keep you as my sous chef forever." "Forever sounds nice," Matteo said quietly, his gaze catching hers, and in that moment everything felt undeniably significant. Quiet moments spooled out between them as they shared dessert, fresh berries drizzled in honey over creamy custard that Mama had always made. The sweet taste filled their mouths, each bite a celebration of their shared triumphs. "Do you think we'll ever learn to let go of the past?" Rosa asked suddenly, her voice tinged with a hesitant vulnerability. It had been stewing under the surface for too long. Matteo paused, his sincerity palpable as he considered her question. "I believe it's about acceptance, Rosa. There'll always be threads woven into the fabric of who we are, but they need not control our story. You can reframe them into something that empowers rather than diminishes." Rosa felt the truth resonate through her, a soft but steady belief taking root within her heart. "You're right," she whispered, the weight of her past lessening ever so slightly. It was becoming clear to her that as long as she stepped forward with Matteo, she was turning away from the shadows that had once suffocated her spirit. After dinner, they cleared their dishes, moving comfortably around each other like old dance partners. When the tasks were done, they finally found themselves side by side on the porch, the stars above twinkling like bright-eyed witnesses to their new beginning. "Look," she whispered softly, pointing towards a constellation. "That's Lyra." "Your knowledge of the stars impresses me," Matteo teased lightly, but then turned serious. "But I also admire how you've blossomed, Rosa. You've fought for your place here." She felt her heart flutter, the truth of his words sinking into her fully. "And I wouldn't want to forge that path with anyone else." Matteo leaned closer, a ripple of intensity weaving through the air between them. "Neither would I." In the tender closeness of that moment, Rosa realized they were on the brink of something profound. Declarations and decisions hung unspoken, yet the distance was palpable, charged with anticipation. With every day spent together, every laugh shared, they fortified their bond, one that had taken root through sorrow and joy, through spoken truths and silent understandings. "Matteo," she finally whispered, her nerves evident in her voice. "What happens when two people decide to cross that threshold?" He turned to her, keenly aware of the heaviness in her question. "It means you're making a promise to open your heart and to trust." His gaze softened, understanding the weight of vulnerability it demanded. "And it's a promise worth taking if you believe the person on the other side will honor that trust." Rosa smiled, a wave of understanding washing over her, a realization of the depth of trust they were both building, brick by brick, heart by heart. Under the vast canopy of stars, bound by shared sacrifices and laughter, she felt ready to leap, to embrace the vulnerability that lay before them. The woods around them thrummed with the life of the night as she took a breath, her heart racing. "Then let's take that leap." As they sat beneath the twinkling stars, surrounded by nature's embrace, Rosa knew she was ready to forge this new path, hand in hand with Matteo. With their hearts intertwined and souls laid bare, they would leap into the unknown, together. The first light of dawn crept through the forest, casting a golden hue over the world outside Rosa's cabin. As she lay nestled under her warm blanket, she opened her eyes to the gentle calls of morning birds serenading the day. Sunlight danced along the wooden walls, a literal embodiment of hope and new beginnings. Rosa stretched lazily, savoring the crisp warmth of the room that felt more and more like home. Last night's conversation with Matteo lingered at the forefront of her mind, a sweet echo that filled her with courage. They had braved the vastness of their uncertainties together, forging bonds over laughter and heartfelt confessions. Dressing quickly, she made her way outside, her breath visible in the cool morning air. The world around her vibrated with life. The trees whispered stories as the wind rustled their leaves, and the distant sound of a stream flowed elegantly, a balm for her spirit. Today she was determined to spend it actively with Matteo, to build not just something tangible, but to deepen that fragile connection they had so carefully cultivated. "Rosa," Matteo called from the gardens as she approached. He was already outside, kneeling in the soil with his shirt rolled up, revealing strong arms that worked deftly with ruddy carrots and leafy greens. "Good morning," she chirped back, her heart fluttering at the sight of him. The sunlight caught in his hair, illuminating his features in a way that sent warmth flooding through her veins. "Need any help?" "Absolutely. Here, grab that basket," he replied enthusiastically, motioning toward a wooden basket overflowing with fresh vegetables from their garden. As they worked side by side, Rosa felt a sense of harmony envelop them. With each carrot pulled from the ground, each bean collected, they exchanged stories and laughter. Matteo spoke animatedly about his past, sharing tales from his childhood that painted a vivid picture of who he was, the time he climbed the tallest tree to prove his bravery to a group of friends, the moment he had to confront a bull in the pasture, fueled by innocent stupidity and a thirst for adventure. "I learned a lot about fear that day," he recounted, chuckling, "and never to underestimate the weight of a young boy's bravado." Rosa laughed with him, a genuine sound that buoyed her spirits. She loved hearing these glimpses of his life, creating a collage of experiences that stitched them closer together. "Bravery, huh? I should take notes. My past was a lot more—" She hesitated, searching for the word. "Sheltered, I suppose." "Sheltered can sometimes be a good thing," Matteo said thoughtfully, brushing dirt off his hands. "It keeps us safe from the weight of the world. But the beauty lies in stepping out of that shelter and discovering who we can be." Rosa felt the weight of those words resonate within her, reinforcing the promise they had made the night before. Laughter mingled with sincere conversations as they worked the garden, each shared moment solidifying their bond through trust and vulnerability. After a few hours with baskets filled to the brim, Matteo wiped the sweat from his brow and sat back, gazing proudly at their hard work. "Well done, partner. What now?" "How about we take our haul to the local market?" Rosa suggested. "I've been wanting to check it out, and it could be fun to spend some time there." Matteo raised an eyebrow, the hint of a playful smirk curving his lips. "You'd think that being out here, we wouldn't bother with civilization." "Believe me, sometimes a girl needs a little excitement," she quipped, her heart fluttering with mischief. "Plus, I'd love for you to show me around." "All right, let's go," he said, standing up with an invigorated spirit, and together they made their way toward the market, their baskets swinging at their sides. The walk was animated, filled with light-hearted banter and the delight of shared silence. As they entered the bustling market, colorful tents greeted them, each overflowing with vibrant produce, handmade crafts, and the enticing scent of baked goods. The sounds of merchants peddling their wares filled the air, voices mingling with laughter and chatter from townsfolk meeting one another for gossip. Rosa's eyes sparkled with excitement, the energy of the market invigorating her. "This is amazing," she gasped, taking in the lively atmosphere around her. "Welcome to the heart of our community," Matteo replied, scanning the area with a grin. "Let's go introduce you to the locals." They wandered through the market, stopping at various stalls. Matteo showed her the best vendors, offering an array of delicious snacks and local crafts. Rosa tried her hand at bartering, her cheeks flushing with excitement, as she finally negotiated a beautiful woven basket from an elderly woman who watched her with twinkling eyes. "2 for the price of 1 if you can catch my secret," the woman declared, laughter bubbling from her lips. "Deal!" Rosa exclaimed, her determination reaching its peak as she engaged in a playful race to secure her victory. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, painting the sky in strokes of crimson and gold, they made their way to the town square, a central gathering point where neighbors mingled and shared stories. The laughter and song of a local musician buoyed the atmosphere. "Rosa!" a familiar voice called, and she turned to see a spirited woman charging toward them. It was Clara, the lively neighbor who had initially welcomed Rosa to the cabin. "Clara, it's so good to see you," Rosa replied, embracing her with warmth. "And this must be Matteo," Clara said, exchanging pleasantries with him. "You've been quite the topic around here, young man." Matteo chuckled, his demeanor warm and inviting. "All good, I hope." "Oh, very good indeed. Rosa has been the talk of the town, about how you've brought her out of her shell." Clara winked, her playful tone laced with underlying acceptance. "We're all grateful for that." "She's a gem, and we're lucky to have her." Rosa felt the warmth of acceptance wash over her, filling the spaces that had once been tinged with doubt. Clara's words served as a balm, further solidifying her choice to embrace this life. She beamed back at Matteo, feeling a surge of appreciation at the bond they had forged. "Thank you, Clara," she responded, her heart swelling. "I'm grateful to be here." As the evening progressed, they spent time with Clara and other locals, sharing stories, laughter, and enjoying delicious food. Matteo introduced her to the joys of community, where everyone looked out for one another, and Rosa began to see glimpses of the life she longed to build, a life woven with relationships, growth, and shared dreams. But even as Rosa laughed and reveled in the moment, shadows lurked in the corners of her mind, threatening to overwhelm her triumph. The truth was that her past wasn't so easily buried. It was a weight she carried in her heart, a reminder of the darkness she had fought to escape. And as the laughter faded into the background, she felt the edges of anxiety creeping closer again. Matteo seemed to sense her moment of retreat. He leaned closer, his voice softening. "You all right?" he asked, concern etching his brow. "You seem distant." "I am," she admitted quietly, her voice barely rising above the joyful noise around them. "This newfound acceptance feels surreal, like a dream, but at times I wonder if the past will catch up with me, if I'll be able to keep it all together." "Hey," he said softly, taking her hand and squeezing it reassuringly. "You've built this path for yourself with resilience and courage. The past might be part of you, but it doesn't define you, Rosa. You're stronger than you think." His words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, grounding her, pushing back against the fear. In that moment, in the middle of the bustling crowd, Rosa felt the tension slip away just a little more. Matteo was her anchor, guiding her through the uncharted waters of her life. "Thank you," she smiled, wishing she could convey how deeply those words resonated within her. As night settled over the market, lanterns lit up, transforming the square into a warm, inviting space filled with laughter, joy, and connection. Matteo pulled her closer, pointing toward the stage where a local band was preparing to play. "This is how we celebrate the end of a day," he said with a playful smile, leading her toward the dance floor. "Care to join me?" With the rhythm of the music weaving through the air, Rosa felt the fear dissipate further, replaced by excitement and the thrill of living in the moment. She took his hand, allowing him to lead her onto the dance floor, overwhelmed by spontaneity. As they danced, the world around them blurred into insignificance. The music enveloped them like a warm blanket, their bodies swaying in tandem as laughter rose above the notes. She surrendered herself to the moment, remembering Matteo's earlier words about growth and embracing life's opportunities. The energy of the crowd surged, voices rising in joyful harmony, blending together as claps and cheers joined the music, and Rosa felt a whirlwind of emotions washing over her. In that vibrant moment, she embraced the warmth of acceptance, of belonging. She spun and twirled with Matteo, his hand steady on her back, and she knew they were no longer just two lost souls. A bond was solidifying, creating a future she had only once dared to imagine. Then the next song shifted into a slower tune, pulling them into sweet intimacy. The world seemed to disappear around them as they swayed gently together. Rosa looked up at Matteo, their faces mere inches apart, and the surrounding noise faded, leaving only an intimate hush. In the depths of his eyes, she found courage and warmth that surged through her like wildfire. It was an unspoken promise etched in the fabric of the moments they shared. "Rosa," Matteo murmured, a reverent tone coloring his voice. "I know it's easy to fear what lies ahead, but I think we can conquer it all together." "Together," she echoed, her heart pounding with anticipation as she surrendered to the vulnerability of the moment. She could feel his breath on her skin, a whisper of intimacy as gravity pulled them closer. In that fragile breath, something shifted between them, a multitude of possibilities unfolding. With a soft tremor, Matteo leaned in, capturing her full attention as if the entire world had faded away. His lips brushed against hers, a tentative connection that ignited flames of warmth and desire within her. She melted into the kiss, feeling everything they had built together coalesce into something more profound. They pulled away slowly, breathless and wide-eyed, lost in the intoxication of what had just transpired. Rosa's heart raced as realization settled in. They had crossed a threshold, leaped into a potent bond that intertwined their hearts with a shared future. "Wow," she breathed out, unable to contain the smile that spread across her face. Matteo chuckled softly, amusement dancing in his eyes. "Wow, indeed. I didn't know where that would take us." "Neither did I," she admitted, laughter bubbling in her chest. It was exhilarating, freeing, and yet that familiar tension flickered at the edges, reminding her that shadows still lingered just beyond the light. As the song faded into the night, and the crowd cheered for one another, Rosa took a deep breath, reminding herself of the journey they had embarked upon. Together they were unearthing everything they had both left behind, and they were building a future laden with all the promise of the stars under which they were standing. Stepping back to the light of the festivities, she clutched Matteo's hand tightly, ready to embrace all that lay ahead. With the warmth of the past still breathing life into their today, Rosa stood firm in the knowledge that love and resilience could weather any storm. As the echoes of the music faded into the cool night air, the festive atmosphere of the market began to dwindle. Lanterns flickered, casting gentle pools of light that danced across the faces of couples and families, bidding farewell to the evening. Rosa and Matteo lingered hand in hand as they watched neighbors gather their wares, laughter spilling like sweet nectar into the crisp night. "Should we head back?" Rosa suggested, feeling a mix of exhilaration and exhaustion merge within her. Matteo nodded, his thumb grazing her knuckles. "Yeah, let's. But I'm glad we stayed a little longer. I think we made some good memories tonight." "Definitely." She smiled, recalling the warmth of the kiss they shared, a moment woven into the fabric of her heart. It felt surreal, like the beginning of something monumental. Yet, underneath the surface, the shadows of her past whispered reminders of the pain she thought she had left behind. As they walked, the crisp air filled with the earthy scent of pine, mingling with the vivid memories of laughter. Rosa's apprehension nudged at the corners of her mind, urging her to remain vigilant. What happens when the past comes rushing back? Are you all right? Matteo's voice cut through her thoughts, soft yet firm. Yeah, she replied, forcing a smile, but she could feel the heaviness weighing down her heart. Just tired. It was a long day. Let's take our time, he suggested. We can stop and watch the stars again when we reach the cabin. Rosa appreciated the tangibility of his presence, grounding her as they reached the patch of forest that led to her home. But an unmistakable tension built within her, a flickering doubt that refused to flicker out. Shadows darted among the trees, coiling around her as if some unseen force anticipated the return of her past. Matteo paused under the towering pines, tilting his head back to gaze at the stars, the soft light illuminating his features like some heroic figure breathed into creation. Look at them, he breathed. Isn't it amazing? Beautiful, Rosa murmured, attempting to focus on the heavens but feeling the weight of reality pressing heavily upon her. Sometimes, I can't help but think they're a reflection of our journeys. Each star is a story, a memory. They're also beacons of hope, he interrupted gently, his eyes never leaving the sky. Reminders that we're not alone in this. She watched him thoughtfully, admiring how he filled the night with wisdom and kindness. I want to believe that, she whispered, feeling her heart rate quicken at the thought of vulnerability in the face of uncertainty. But it's hard not to fear the shadows that linger. Then we stand together against them, Matteo said decisively, turning to face her fully, his expressions imbued with sincerity. You're stronger than you give yourself credit for, Rosa. I believe in you. His words settled around her like a warm blanket, stirring her courage. But even as she drew strength from his belief in her, icy tendrils of doubt snaked around her thoughts. Could she really face whatever threat lingered in the shadows? What if they come back, Matteo? What if I'm not strong enough? Then we face them together, he reiterated, stepping a touch closer. You've already faced so much in your life, and look where you are now. In this moment, here with me. You're not alone. As his hand found hers again, Rosa felt the warmth of his promise seep into her bones. But just before she could respond, a distant sound pierced the calm night, a low rumble reminiscent of a storm brewing on the horizon, but tinged with a deeper anxiety that she couldn't quite place. Do you hear that? She asked, her chest tight. Matteo's expression shifted, concern tightening his features. Yeah, and it doesn't sound good. The sound grew louder, becoming a force against the quiet night, a fierce heartbeat resonating through the trees, quickening her pulse. Panic gripped her as the memories of her old life flickered like shadows in her mind, crystallizing into a clear picture, one of desperation, vulnerability, and fear. A figure emerged from the encroaching darkness, the silhouette appearing almost ghost-like against the night. It was too dark to see clearly, but the chill that followed sent dread creeping down Rosa's spine. "Matteo?" she barely whispered, her grip tightening around his hand. "Stay behind me," Matteo instructed, his voice tense as he stepped forward and shielded her. Her heart raced as the figure advanced toward them, revealing a man she had hoped never to see again. It was Thomas, a remnant of the life she had tried to escape, a man whose presence signified danger and despair. "Rosa," he called, voice dripping with false sweetness. The shadows clung to him like a shroud, making him seem more monstrous in their wake. "I've come to find you." Matteo stood taller, positioning himself protectively in front of her. You need to leave her alone. You have no right to be here. Ah, Matteo, Thomas sneered, eyes glinting with malice. The brave mountain man who thinks he can protect the delicate flower. How charming. Enough! Rosa stepped out from behind Matteo, finding her voice amidst the storm swirling within her. You have no power over me anymore, Thomas. I left for a reason. Did you? He chuckled darkly, his demeanor morphing into something sinister. You can't just walk away from your past. It's still inside you, just waiting to come back. That's where you're wrong, Rosa asserted, shaking off the chill that stubbornly clung to her. I am stronger now. I won't let you control me any longer. But can you really fight what's inside? What everyone believes you to be? He taunted, stepping forward confidently, as if he could intimidate her with sheer force of will. You think you can build a new life, but everyone knows who you are. The scars, they won't disappear. You'll always be that girl. Matteo bristled, a low growl escaping his throat. You need to leave, now, or I will make you. Thomas's smirk faltered only briefly, the tension curling in the air between them, thick and heavy. We'll see about that. I've merely come to remind her that darkness lingers and hope is fleeting. He turned, casting an eerie glance back at Rosa. Enjoy your little paradise while it lasts, Rosa. I'll be waiting. With that, he melted back into the shadows from which he had come, leaving a bitter chill that seeped deep within Rosa's bones. The silence that followed was deafening, echoing the aftermath of the confrontation like a hammer striking an anvil. Rosa's heart raced and she felt the weight of fear settle heavily over her chest, grabbing tightly like a noose around her throat. Are you all right? Matteo asked, his voice low, concern etched on his face as he turned to her, searching for the flicker of resolve. I don't know, she admitted, her breath catching in her throat, an internal storm raging since Thomas's words sliced through the calm. She felt fragments of her past clawing at her, doubt swirled like a tempest within her, threatening to pull her under. Rosa. Matteo gripped her shoulders gently, grounding her in this moment. We'll face this. You can confront whatever darkness comes our way. I'm here with you. She met his gaze, and in that moment she saw the unwavering support and unwavering confidence reflected in his eyes. You're right, she whispered, searching for the strength she thought she'd lost. I will not let him take my power. Matteo pulled her tightly against him, the warmth and anchor of his embrace filling her with an unmistakable force. Together, he reassured her gently, we'll confront whatever Thomas tries to get in our way. As they stood there, Rosa felt the shadows begin to shift, to retreat in the presence of their shared light. Together they could face whatever lay ahead. She would not allow her past to dictate her future any longer. With Matteo by her side, she was ready to fight for her new life, to protect what was hers. And as the stars whispered their ageless songs above, guiding them through the darkness, Rosa felt a flicker of hope ignite once more, a promise that the path to healing and resilience was one she was more than willing to tread. As the night wrapped around them, the stars glimmered like watchful guardians above, illuminating Rosa and Matteo's path back to the cabin. The energy from the market had dimmed, replaced by the chill left in the wake of Thomas's confrontation. Silence enveloped them, heavy and contemplative, echoing the emotional storm that had just passed through. Inside the cabin, Rosa flicked on the oil lamps, their warm, flickering light pushing back against the darkness that threatened to seep in. Each gentle flicker of flame drew her thoughts away from fear, but doubt still nagged at her, sharp and unsettling. Matteo, she began, hesitance clouding her voice. Yeah? He stepped closer, his familiarity comforting. What if he comes back? What if he has a plan? The sudden memories of her past clawed at her, anxiety unfurling like a dark cloud over her thoughts. "Then we prepare for him," Matteo replied, his voice filled with conviction. "We won't let fear dictate our actions. Let it fuel our resolve." Rosa's heart surged with gratitude as she searched his eyes, which gleamed with unwavering faith in her. "You're right. I won't allow him to take what we've built together," she declared, inhaling a breath of determined resolve. Matteo stepped forward, his presence solid and unyielding. "Together we can stand against him. You've faced so much already." Drawing courage from his words, Rosa felt the grip of fear loosen its hold. "I want to reclaim my life, our life," she insisted, her voice strengthened by purpose. "I won't live in fear anymore." "Absolutely," Matteo affirmed, a smile forming on his lips. "We need to bring the community together. I know we can face him if we stand united." Before they could finalize their plans, a sharp knock at the door echoed through the cabin, breaking the intensity of the moment and filling Rosa with unexpected tension. "Who is it?" she called out, her heart racing once more. "It's Clara," came the cheerful response. "I brought a pie to celebrate your return." Rosa felt relief wash over her, and she exchanged a glance with Matteo, whose expression lightened. "It's just Clara. Let her in, please." Clara bounded into the cabin, her bright energy illuminating the room. "I thought we could use a little celebration. Life's too short not to enjoy the small joys." She held out the warm apple pie like a triumphant gift. "Thank you, Clara," Rosa exclaimed, her heart lifting as she accepted the pie, the sweet aroma bringing comfort. "Oh, you're welcome. I wanted to bring a taste of happiness," Clara replied, taking a seat. The initial nervousness faded as they began to share light-hearted stories and laughter, weaving a comforting tapestry that momentarily diminished the shadows left by Thomas's visit. As laughter filled the air, Rosa felt a twinge of gratitude for this friendship, a sense of belonging that had grown roots in her heart. Yet, in a lull between their stories, the reality of the situation crept back into focus. Finally, Matteo turned to Clara, his tone shifting to seriousness. "We need your help, Clara. Thomas found Rosa, and we're worried he might come back." "Oh no," Clara said, her expression shifting from joy to concern. "But you're safe now, right?" "For now," Matteo assured her. "But we must be proactive. If we work together, we can make it clear he can't intimidate anyone here." "Absolutely," Clara confirmed, determination shining in her eyes. "I'll spread the word and rally everyone. We'll stand united against him." Rosa's heart soared at the prospect of a community joining forces to protect their own. She turned to Matteo, realization dawning bright. "This is our chance to show him we won't be pushed around." Together they finalized their plans, each word strengthening the bond of solidarity between them. The fog of fear that had surrounded Rosa began to lift, replaced with a growing surge of hope and resolve. The shadows of her past wouldn't dictate her future. She would confront Thomas head-on, armed with courage, love, and community support. Once Clara left, Rosa turned to Matteo, determination intertwining with excitement. "Tomorrow, we take action," she stated with newfound clarity. "I know we are ready," Matteo replied, his pride in her shining through. "You're stronger than you think, and together we can face anything." As the stars twinkled outside, casting their soft light into the room, Rosa felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Matteo's solidity grounded her, and as she took his hand, she felt the warmth and strength of their bond surging through her. The night deepened, and together they stood resolute, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. With each moment of hope exchanged, they forged a path through the darkness, turning fear into motivation and vulnerability into strength. As dawn approached, their hearts filled with anticipation. They would embrace the new day united, prepared to shield their burgeoning life from the shadows of the past. ready to welcome the vibrant possibilities of the future into their lives together.